Hello, Gretchen and Paul. Here's your sewer scope from this morning's inspection. That's me in the basement just kind of pointing things out. There's that nice, easy to open and get into cleanout cap. Very nice. They even had a nice little table right there set up for me to put my camera unit on. Very convenient. A quick change from PVC into cast iron. Just about 7.5 feet before we get into the cast iron. It's not in bad shape. I mean, it's got a little bit of scaling going on. Cleaning is in the future of this pipe, so descaling or getting rid of some of that junk in there is not a bad idea. But all in all, the cast iron, for the most part, is in decent condition. The other benefit to getting cutter heads in there and clearing some of that out is you get better visibility on the pipe, just to make sure that there isn't anything hidden below all of that. Never a bad idea. But all in all, not bad. I've seen pipes that you've got flakes of iron coming off of it, and a mass of buildup in there to the point where there's a channel running through the bottom of the pipe where you're pushing your camera head. And all in all, again, hate to keep saying that, but all in all, it's not a bad pipe. So coming up here in about 5 feet or so, or right here, you've got roots that are growing through the cast iron. Not typical at all. So there is some void. It does not look like it's at a connection point either. This is not the fitting between two sections of pipe. So the only thing that I can think of is that was potentially a crack in the pipe. Like right there is a connection point between two lengths of pipe. Now, it is theoretically possible that the connection was a little bit further ahead, and then there was an entry point there, and the roots kind of worked themselves back and started to grow from a distance behind that connection point. It's wild speculation, but something's going on there that needs to be looked further into. Because again, it is completely not common for roots to grow through a cast iron pipe. I did run a fair amount of water prior to doing the scope, so one of the benefits to that is, besides clearing anything out that happens to be left in there, is that it'll show if there are any spots that are holding water, or low spots or sags in the pipe. Nothing here. Everything looked really good, and there wasn't any water that was holding. So 112 feet, 13 feet is our transition to clay, and we've got roots growing. Well, like we talked about today, roots in clay section, in my mind, isn't necessarily a defect. It's more just a characteristic. More of the question is, what are the connections between the sections of pipe? I mean, is there a big enough offset, like here, where you've got really thick roots, which those are, coming into the pipe? I mean, this is just par for the course. I know personally that on a regular or semi-regular basis, you just have to get rid of them. You have to come in and cut them out. There's no real way around it other than cutting down all of the trees in your area, in your yard. That's the only way you're going to keep roots from growing in. This is the full extent of how far I could go with my camera. I've got a 125-foot reel on this machine, and with the distance from the table that I put my machine on to the entry point, I was short by about 3 feet. Read through the written report. There'll be some recommendations in there and some next step ideas. And then, of course, reach out to me if you have any questions. I'm always happy to be a resource if I can help.